Before we get to my conversation with Leader Jeffries, I wanted to ask all of you if you could please click subscribe and become part of the Raging Moderates community. We're really trying to do something different here, have a more balanced conversation, a little more moderate in tone, a little more normie. And we'd love to, have you stick around and for you to get notified when we're doing more cool things, which happens all the time. Now here's my conversation with Leader Jeffries. Welcome back to Raging Moderates. I'm Jessica Tarlov, and today I'm joined by House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries. Leader Jeffries, it's great to have you on the show again.
Jessica, great to be with you.
I want to get right into it. Obviously, the big story of the week has been the fallout from the Charlie Kirk assassination. Trump and the administration have already been using it as a way to go after the left. I saw the statement that you released on Jimmy Kimmel's firing that House Democrats will make sure the people learn the truth, even if that entails unleashing subpoena power. The No Political Enemies Act was just introduced by your colleagues in the Senate, and the House Oversight Committee is apparently working to bring in FCC Chairman Brendan Carr for questioning. I don't know if James Comer is actually up for that, or that's just how the statement was worded. But a girl can dream. Can you take us through all of these moving parts?
Yeah, well, Brendan Carr, the so-called FCC chairman, is a complete and total disgrace. And we think what the Trump administration has been doing is running a massive pay-to-play scheme, bullying companies and corporations, trying to force people to bend the knee. That's what happened in the context of ABC and the other related media companies that were involved in this sordid affair. And it's completely and totally unacceptable and un-American. And so, as we made clear, as the ranking member on the Oversight Committee has made clear, he's launched an investigation, and we're going to push our Republican colleagues, of course, to make sure that we are exercising our oversight authority. And if they fail to do it, we will find other creative ways to bring this information to light for the American people. The one thing is clear. We are not going to forget, and we are not going to let people get away with this bullying of companies and law firms in order to bend the knee to Donald Trump's will and jam this right-wing toxic ideology down the throats of the American people, which is the ultimate problem.
So I obviously wholeheartedly agree with you. I also know that the right and certainly members of the Trump administration think that this is a big joke. You can just see that even in the way that they're communicating, that you have an FCC chair using GIFs from The Office as a response about him getting in the middle of a merger and forcing out someone whose speech he doesn't like. You say creative ways to deal with this. What might that be?
One of the things that we were successful in doing as House Democrats is pushing Republicans on the Oversight Committee to actually agree to subpoena people within the administration and subpoena documents connected to the whole Jeffrey Epstein affair. And ultimately, that resulted in some additional information being released to the American people, including the birthday note. And so we're going to continue to aggressively push forward, shame our Republican colleagues who are failing to actually conduct themselves in most instances as a separate and co-equal branch of government, hold them accountable in their districts as we've been doing, and ratchet up the public sentiment toward causing people to do the right thing. And we just have to be relentless and righteous in our intensity. And that's what we'll continue to do. Robert Garcia, as well as Jamie Raskin and others in the committees of jurisdiction.
Is this one of those instances, and you do hear about it a lot, and then it's kind of depressing where your Republican colleagues agree with you, but they're scared to say anything because of Trump?
Yes, that's very unfortunate in terms of how Republicans have often conducted themselves. Privately, they'll say to us, this is all out of control. And I think even some right-wing conservative influencers have responded to this most recent incident relative to, Jimmy Kimmel. And political parody is the ultimate definition of what is protected by the First Amendment. And they claim to be defenders of the First Amendment. They complained about cancel culture all these many years. Turns out it was all fake from their standpoint, because they are unleashing cancel culture on the American people in ways never before seen. And the American people will reject it. And so ultimately, Republicans have a choice. They can continue to be nothing more than a reckless rubber stamp for Donald Trump's extreme agenda, or they can actually do their jobs. And the failure to do their jobs, I believe, is going to result in accountability electorally come next November, which will be upon us very, very soon.
You promise? Because it still feels like over a year away. And I know that you have some big challenges before we get there. The spending showdown and the impending potential shutdown, probably atop your list. You've put competing funding legislation out there to keep the government open at least through the end of October. Imagine the GOP is going to completely ignore that. The chorus of shut it down, folks, on the left is getting louder and louder. I know that you have a vote tomorrow morning. Is your expectation that all House Democrats will be voting no?
It's my expectation that similar to what we saw with the one big ugly bill, where in that instance, every single House Democrat and every single Senate Democrat opposed the bill, that Democrats will once again be unified and strongly opposed to this partisan Republican spending bill that continues the GOP healthcare crisis and the Republican assault on the healthcare of the American people, which has been extraordinary in scope. Largest cut to Medicaid in American history, taking coverage away from millions of Americans, causing premiums, copays, and deductibles to increase for at least 20 million Americans because of their continued assault on the Affordable Care Act, forcing hospitals and nursing homes and community-based health clinics to close, triggering a potential cut of $536 billion to Medicare at the end of this year, and going after cancer research. Those are just the malignant highlights of the Republican assault on healthcare. So our view is that we are fighting to cancel the cuts, to lower the costs, to save healthcare for the American people. And because this reckless Republican partisan spending bill that they just dropped on us without any consultation or conversation continues the Republican assault on healthcare, we're not just a no, we're a hell no in defense of the American people.
So the example that you used where every Democrat voted against it was the One Big Beautiful Bill, or the GOP reconciliation bill, which they're in the midst of trying to rebrand because they know it's so toxic. But this is a spending resolution, which is a bit different. And you did have Democrats in the Senate that voted to keep the government open last time. How is Chuck Schumer feeling about his caucus? Because, I personally felt like he did us a little dirty because he said that they had the votes, that they were going to hold their ground. And then a few of them, what was it, like 8 in the end, ended up voting for it. So is the House caucus and the Senate caucus both united?
Yes, we are completely and totally aligned. We've been meeting with regularity over the last several months to prepare for this moment. And both House Democrats and Senate Democrats understand the importance of the fight and understand the importance of standing up, of course, for all of the things, but particularly in this instance, at this moment, standing up for the healthcare of the American people. And that has long been a priority for Democrats in the House, in the Senate, in the White House, across the country. It's an issue, of course, that unites us for all the right reasons because it's so critically important to the American people. And we know we are in a high cost of living environment. And the two costs that impact the American people the most, housing and healthcare, in terms of what's most expensive. And Republicans are actually about to trigger massive increases in health insurance costs for everyday Americans. In some instances, more than $5,000 or $10,000 or $20,000 a year. So this is a moment for us to push back against that. The average American person, right, can't afford a $500 increase.
Yeah.
That's sudden and unexpected. Think about that. A $500 increase, half the American people can't afford to absorb that. Thousands of dollars a year instantaneously dropped on folks. And the alternative is to go without health care. If you can't afford it, putting your family and yourself in jeopardy. Like, this is a fight that we have to wage and a fight that we have to win. And I believe that Leader Schumer and Senate Democrats are in lockstep with us on this in defense of the healthcare of the American people.
Well, I hope that's the case. I know John Fetterman's been flirting with voting to keep it open, but I guess we could afford to lose one.
That's right.
Are you concerned about the repercussions of shutting down the government? Recent polling shows that 45% of the American people would blame Trump and the Republicans, rightly so, for that. They are in charge of every single branch of government. But what about the idea that the Republicans may move to get rid of the filibuster, which is something that I know there's some anxiety about?
Yeah. Well, definitely from our standpoint, Republicans control the House, the Senate, and the presidency. Period. Full stop. If the government shuts down, it's a Republican shutdown. It's what they want. We know it's probably what they want because they actually, have shut down the government multiple times before. It's in their DNA and it never works out well for them, right? At the end of the day, there's an unconditional surrender because the American people know who to blame and know who to hold accountable. And it's going to be a narrative fight, but we're standing on the side of the American people and their health care. And if the government shuts down, what's amazing about it all is it's because Republicans don't want to do anything to fix the GOP healthcare crisis that they've created. And if they move to vacate the filibuster, then it will be completely and totally clear who owns all of the policy consequences that are being dangerously visited on the American people. The failure to address the high cost of living, the ripping away of healthcare, the stealing of food from the mouths of children, and the fact that all of this is being done to provide their billionaire donors with massive tax breaks. And that's the reason why the one big ugly bill is so deeply unpopular. And if Republicans shut this government down, it will add to their unpopularity and public disapproval.
Yeah, I mean, you're echoing a lot of the same sentiments, albeit through more partisan framing that Jay Powell did yesterday when he gave us a 25-point basis cut, but talked about inflation, cost of living, a sluggish job market, and real concerns for the American economy going forward. How are you feeling about the midterms overall?
So overall, we're in a strong position. We're going to fight this redistricting battle, and we're going to make sure that Republicans, this current version of the Republican Party, that they cannot mathematically alter the map, gerrymander congressional districts in a way that allows them to rig the midterm elections. That's why there's a forceful response in California and will be forceful responses in Democratic states all across the country. Republicans have a 3-seat majority, only 3. It's 435 of us in the House, 3-seat majority. That's the narrowest majority of any party that any party has had since the Great Depression in 1931. That's why they're so frightened about the moment. And they know that the policies, the economy that they've unleashed on the American people has been a complete and total disaster. From a group of people who promised to lower costs on day one, costs aren't going down, they're going up. Electricity bills going up, healthcare premiums going up, housing costs going up, groceries going up because of Donald Trump's failed tariff policies that he's unleashed on the American people, and that Republicans in the House are rubber stamping. And so we know that there's every reason in the world for the American people to run away from this version of the Republican Party. What we are making sure we do is communicate why they should run toward us in order to reverse this national nightmare. And we're going to make it clear to the American people, you deserve better. We hear you, we see you, we feel you, we know you deserve better. And we're going to work as hard as we can to lower the high cost of living, to fix our broken healthcare system, and to clean up corruption, to actually deliver a government that works for the American people, not a government of the elites, by the elites, and for the elites.
Well, I look forward to that. And lastly, New Yorker to New Yorker, I got to ask you what's going on with the Mamdani endorsement situation.
Well, I expect to have a conversation with him and his team at some point soon. A lot has been going on in Washington, D.C., as we've been
I
discussing.
know, but you said
Uh,
that the last few weeks. I
yeah,
mean, it's
well,
always busy in Washington,
yeah, it's
but
always busy in Washington, but things are moving forward in terms of the mayoral race, and I know we've got to bring this to a close sooner rather than later, and that's my plan.
okay. So it's coming.
I'll definitely have more to say on the mayor's race in short order.
Leader Jeffries. It was a pleasure having you. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you.